This is Charlie Parsons for Boxing Social in association with William Hill and Empire Fight Store. Frank Smith, how are we?
I'm good, mate. How are you? You look a bit burnt.
Yeah, a little bit. Been getting the old lobster jokes all day. Reaction to tonight? I suppose firstly, main event, Richardson, Hitchins. Your thoughts?
Disappointing, in all honesty. Look, he's a very skilled and talented fighter, and now we need to step on into some big fights. But yeah, look, it wasn't one that's going to be remembered, is the reality.
What's next for him?
Look, he's ready to... Zepeda was a tough test. What are you doing, mate? Is camera right?
Putting it down.
Zepeda was a test. It was a test for him. And there's big fights to be made in the division for him, but I think he probably needs one more, and then at some point next year challenge for a world title. But like I say, he needs to entertain. If we want to build him into a star that he can be, he needs to entertain in the ring as well.
What's the plan for him in New York? Obviously, that is the background, and obviously building a fighter over there. The obvious is, I suppose, start with a theatre in MSG. When do you look at sort of doing that next fight?
Look, he's boxed there, obviously, on the undercards. But yeah, maybe, possibly. I don't know. I think maybe an undercard next for Richardson. And like I say, hopefully we can then get a world title shot not long after that.
Let's talk about the rest of the card. I suppose before we go into Conor Benn, because that will take up a lot of time. Sandy Ryan, Jessica McCaskill, very, very strange scorecards. Do you want to address that? We know time and time again this sort of thing happens and nothing really tends to get done, but your thought?
Yeah, look, terrible scorecards, and you got fighters' lives in your hands, really, and you can change their life in those 10 rounds. And when you see results like that, look, I think Sandy won it clearly. Tonight there was no question. And yeah, when you see results like that, it's disappointing to see. It's very disappointing to see because she's worked her whole life for that moment. So we have to see where we go from here. Lots of talk about a rematch. Let's see. Hopefully we can maybe look at getting that on.
Scorecards in the Conor Benn fight. One of them 96-94. Your thoughts on that?
Again, another awful scorecard. The other two, I think, were 99-91, which is probably right. But the other two scorecards were right, but that one again terrible as well. I think when you come to different states, obviously they have to deal with it. The commission have to deal with it and have to look back and decide what they want to do, just like the British Boxing Board of Control would have to do in the UK.
Conor Benn's performance itself, his opponent, I believe he's just gone to go to the hospital to get some stitches. What a tough and hard competitor. Really tough, and big as well. When you look at the size of him in the ring tonight, he was very, very big. And it's the kind of fight he needed, Conor. After that long out the ring, I think he's had 18 months out the ring. It would have done him no good going in there getting a 2-round stoppage job. He did exactly what was needed. Get in there, shake off any ring rust, and I actually thought it was a brilliant performance. He boxed really well, and caught him with some tremendous shots. That he's got a chin like no other, and I think many other people would have gone down from the majority of those shots that Conor Benn was throwing. And look, it sets him up ready for the big fights that we're looking at for the end of the year. Chris Eubank Jr tweeted yawning and a tired face after the fight. Your reaction?
I mean, it was early in the morning where he was, so he was probably a bit tired.
Great response.
It was, wasn't it? Look, that's it's there's gonna be, you like that, didn't you? You're still laughing now. Funny, really. There's always going to be that between them. Like we've seen it when after Chris's fight, Conor reacted when Liam Smith stopped him. It's what they do. It's what they're always going to do. And I'm sure Chris will look at that and go, I could do a good job on him. So let's see.
December 23rd, ready to put a big offer in?
That's the job this week. That's what we're working on this week. Get things together, but that's our aim, and that is the plan, mate.
Sort of on that fight, do you expect them to accept it? I know that you've been speaking with Calla and the team and everything, but I suppose when they get the offer, it's a different story. You're expecting for that to be accepted?
Look, I believe it's the biggest fight out there for both of them by a million miles, is the reality. And I think everyone's going to be sensible, and I do believe it can happen. and I believe that we'll get it over the line. You know, the other thing you have to look at as well is, as with the first fight, Conor's much smaller than Chris, like in terms of coming up 2 weight divisions, and it's perceptionally an easier fight in terms of, you know, how long he's had out the ring and the size. You know, compared to other fights, he's like, well, be that Golovkin or these other or the other 160 champions, or, you know, in his mind, like he tweeted afterwards, he's going to view it as, you know, a fight that he can win, you know, and that has to play into it as well. But I believe the overriding thing is that it's the biggest fight out there for both of them. And if I was representing Chris Eubank Jr., you know, providing the deal was right, obviously, I think this is the fight I'd be saying to do. So let's see.
Frank, I'm being ushered for a Conor Benn scrum, so there is a chance the interview could end here. But if you're still here, I have a few more questions for you after.
Oh, thanks, mate. Cheers.